So we've seen this move to the downside play out on ADA over the past couple of days, and I mentioned in my previous update that I was looking at for a 5-hour structure to the upside, and from there we could see a retracement to the downside. And so I set out two key targets, which is this one here between 62 cents to 67 cents, and we have this target here between 67 cents to 78 cents. And reason being is because I mentioned we had two potential setups that were in play, with one of which being that we ended up topping off at this level here. And that level sits at 73.6 cents to complete this fifth wave. And from then on, we can then see a deeper retracement to the downside where we then tap into this range, given that I was looking at for a corrective move to the downside. And this corrective move to the downside typically retraces anywhere between 50 to 88.2% of this move to the upside. And yeah, you can see that that region sits between 62 cents to 67 cents. And alternatively, what we could have forming is the 5-wave structure, where rather than the fifth wave topping off at this level, instead we could have had the third wave play out, followed by a fourth wave to the downside, and we then see a reversal to then complete the fifth wave. And this region was the fourth wave target, which typically retraces anywhere between 23.6% to 50% of the wave 3, as you can see here. But given that we ended up exceeding this region and we ended up tapping into this region, it is looking more and more likely that we ended up topping off at 72.6 cents to complete the 5-wave structure. And what we are forming right now is this corrective move to the downside. And you can also see that over the past couple of days, we ended up breaching past the previous local low at 66.19 cents. And as a result, that then confirmed that we were slightly bearish. And so what I'm looking at for right now is for a WXY structure to complete this corrective move to the downside, where ultimately we'll be trading within this region here. And so the next key target for ADA would be the Y wave target, which typically retraces anywhere between 1 to 1.226 of the W wave. So if I bring in the fib tool and bring this to 71.6 cents, and you can see that that region sits between 62.8 cents to 64.39 cents. And so this would be the next key target for ADA. Now we did meet the minimum requirement, which is the 61.8% retrace at level. And so technically speaking, we could see a reversal to the upside, where we can then see high highs, but ultimately I'm looking at for that final push to the downside where we then tap into this region. And from then on, it will be a case of whether or not what we are forming is a WXR structure, where this 5-wave structure could form the W wave, and this corrective move to the downside that we're witnessing at the moment could form the X wave, and then we see a reversal to the upside to complete the Y wave. Or alternatively, what we could have forming is a 5-wave structure, where this move could form the wave 1, and this WXR structure could form the wave 2, and then we see the wave 3, 4, and 5 play out like so. Now, worst case scenario, we could have a deeper corrective move to the downside that's forming, where this corrective move could form the W wave, and then we see the X wave and then the Y wave. But again, ultimately, I will be looking at for that reversal to the upside, where we see high highs. And so for now, what I'm looking at for is for ADA to tap into this region here, and from then on, we can get a better understanding as to where we are heading next. Now, if I drop down to the 15-minute chart and check to see what's taken place within this recent move to the downside, and it does look to be choppy, and so it is looking like we had a WXY structure that played out. And so if I bring in the fib tool and bring this to 69.4 cents, and so as of right now, we've not tapped into that typical range for the Y wave, which is anywhere between 1 to 1.226, and that region sits between 64 to 65 cents. And so we could have two potential setups that's in play right now. So it's a case of whether or not we have the Y wave that's still in play, which would then be made up of a WXY structure, like so, or we could have bottomed out the Y wave, and what we could have forming right now is a bigger WXY structure within this Y wave here. And so in essence, this structure could form the W wave, and we could have the X wave that's playing out, followed by the Y wave. And so ultimately, I am looking out for a deeper move to the downside where we then tap into this range. Now, if I go back to the hourly chart, what you can see is on the stochastic RSI, the bears are regaining momentum. And so again, I am looking out for that deeper move to the downside. And if I zoom out ever so slightly and go on the 8-hour chart, you can see a similar scenario taking place on the stochastic RSI, where the bears are gaining momentum. And so, yeah, I will be looking out for a deeper move to the downside where we tap into this range, and then I will be looking out for that reversal to the upside. But of course, that's something I'm going to be tracking in the days and weeks to come, and I'll be keeping you guys updated. And so, yeah, that's just my update on Cardano ADA. Hopefully you found it useful, and if you did, then feel free to hit the like button, and if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.